With my life laid down, I surrender now. Everything, your goodness, forever, forever only. Your goodness pouring out me. Good morning. Different setting today. Hope everyone is well. Your goodness is pouring out on me. With my heart and blood, I start to love. I owe you everything. Your goodness is pouring out on me. Good morning. Oh, hi. Good morning, beautiful people. I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me all my days. I've been held in your hands from the moment that I wake up until I lay my head. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause all my life you have been faithful. And all my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God. Good morning, beautiful people. I'm being a little bit more quiet today because I'm in the public library, but they gave me a private room. I think I may do this more often just so I can change my scenery. And good morning, Sister Darwinika. Hi, Mitri. um, it's a beautiful day here in Durham, North Carolina. It's beautiful outside. And I'm so grateful to be alive and to still be able to. Oh my gosh, greetings! Oh my gosh, greetings from the Netherlands. How are you doing? I hope all is well. Um, let me see. Oh, hold on one second. I think I may have my guest. Let me know if I ever fade out, you guys, because their computers are down, but their Wi-Fi is still working. So hopefully everything um, work out for us this morning. I do have a guest today. Hopefully everything will work out and we will be able to get this started in a few. Um, we all know this is the Flower Bev show and it's about butterfly mentality, but there are things in life that we cannot avoid, and there are things in life that we deem necessary to speak about. I try to choose not to say certain things or talk about certain things for my own reasons, but a certain individual brought this to my attention that he wanted to speak about it, so I felt like it would be a good topic for us to talk about, and it's not something that we can actually run away from. It's sort of in our faces. So definitely, it's definitely um, a sensitive topic, controversial topic, and I'm hoping that we're able to do exactly that, um, to talk about it. So let me see. I'm trying to. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I get them in here. Thank y'all to y'all that are joining me, all the five that I have so far. Um, if everyone is doing well, I'm happy about that. Um, just trying to having trouble connecting. This is often caused by an unstable internet connection. If you're on Wi-Fi, trouble plugging into a router or moving closer to it. Let me know if y'all can hear me in the comment section. Let me know if I'm going in and out because I can't tell. So you all got to let me know. I see people are coming in still. So good morning to you all. I am, let me see, going to introduce him in a few, as soon as I can see him completely come in. So uh, I'm excited, definitely excited. Sometimes we hear you. Sometimes you're going out. Okay. All right. Yeah, it's their internet over here. I'm hoping that I'll still be able to do this. Well, which I will be able to, but it's just my service is not the best over here. This is just terrible. Nothing helps me. Hopefully the bandwidth is strong enough to. I'm actually going to go into the studio on my cell phone too. Okay, so I actually have my backup plan ready. Yeah. So I know that kind of looks like, but I just wanted to make sure I could actually. All right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I could actually see myself. um, let me see. I do not see my guest, so I'm sorry this is taking a little bit longer than I would like. But like I said, let me know again if I'm dropping out and coming back in, because I'm thinking that the library was going to help me, and their service was actually really good at first, and now it's like in and out. I guess their Wi-Fi. Well, I don't think their Wi-Fi is down, but their computers are down. But I was able to still connect to their Wi-Fi. So, good morning, beautiful people. Those are that are coming in. Um, let's see. I'm just trying to get a hold on some things. But anyway, I know I wasn't here in 2 weeks, and a lot has transpired. I think one of those weeks, I was in the bed and I just was not feeling good the first week. I really just needed some rest. And then the second week, I went fishing with my dad and my uncle. And it was my first time going fishing as an adult. I don't last time I went fishing, and if I did go fishing, I was a lot younger. um, and it was actually fun to be out there fishing with my father and my uncle. My dad was helping me. He was like putting the bait and stuff, but I was, every time I put my, it's like every time I threw, well, he was throwing it out, throwing my line out first, and then it's like after that, it was like the fish was just biting every single time, and I ended up catching, I think, around 11 fish, and I caught more than everybody. So I thought that was really fun. And him and my uncle, it was hilarious to me. My dad, he had me cracking up. He was like, "Man, you putting me to shame out here. You know, I'm supposed to be the fishing guru." And I was like, "Oh, it's okay, Dad. It's okay to let your daughter shine a little bit, you know." And I thought it was funny because, I'm used to my dad and them going out there fishing. But we actually brought the fish home. I'm not afraid to scale the fish or clean the fish. I've seen my dad do it many a days. So he was like, "Well, I'm gonna show you how to clean the fish when we get home." I said, "Oh, I'm fine with that. Like, that ain't no problem." I've seen the guts and all that good jazz before. So when we got home, I took a nap. Well, no, not at first, but ended up falling asleep. But then my dad, he was like, "Hey, I'm getting ready to, clean the fish." And I was like, "Okay, I'll be down in a few." So I helped my dad clean the fish, and then my dad, and all his skill, he he fried them. Man, they were really good. They really were. And my dad, it's like his seasonings for his fish got better and better over the years. And he's really good at frying fish and cooking seafood and stuff like that. He's always been the man on the grill at just about every cookout we have. So um, it was really, really good. We went down to the pond with some of the saints and from Rocky Mount and other areas, and it was a nice event to have and to be around the saints. I was going to go to the beach that weekend, but I was like, nah, let me just go out with the saints. How often do you get to hang out with the saints outside of church? Not often. So I figured it would be a good thing to be able to enjoy them as well. Let me see. I'm trying to. I think he's still trying to get in. My guest of honor. Um, I don't know. What have you guys been up to while we're waiting so patiently? What have you guys been up to? How have things been for you all? Greetings, Sister Shauna. We may have to postpone it, but it's okay. Oh yeah, I had tons of fun. I was worn out because I was up at 4 something, and that was the first time in a long time I had got up that early. Oh my gosh, you know, I hadn't been up that early in a while. Wanda says summer school. Oh well, hopefully it's not too bad. Let me see. He says he can see and hear me. Let's see. Let's see what happens.
Okay, hang on.
It might be my bandwidth too that's causing it not to be as successful as I would like it to be. And that's like terrible. Uh oh. Let's see.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let me see. So Dominica said it was a great time on the fishing trip. I haven't been up to much trying to close out my first year. I've been up to much trying to close out my first school year as a teacher. Oh, how was that? How was your experience as a teacher? As a first year teacher, how was your experience? Somebody's echoing. It might be me. Or is Brother Bill in? He is in? Okay, I can't see him, so it's mine then. Hold on one second. There we go. Okay, hold on. It's always me. All right, hold on one second. Brother Bill, you there?
Yes.
Oh, yay. Okay, I can hear you. Hold on one second. Let me get my headphones. It's always my laptop that ends up giving me all the trouble in the world because you probably were in on my phone, but I couldn't tell you were in on my laptop.
Okay.
Bear with us, people. Okay, perfect. Is this better?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
All right, this is probably how we're gonna have to do it this way then.
Okay.
All right. Well, everybody, here's Brother Bill. I'm very grateful that he is in here with us on the Fly with Bev show. Let me just introduce you officially. Um, this is one of my, I guess I shouldn't say favorites, but one of the people that I love dearly. I don't want anybody getting jealous now, but one that I've known for what has been at least
What, sir?
it's
At least
it's
I
what
would
about a decade?
10 years, at least 10 years.
Oh
I
my
would.
gosh, we started and we're at Rocky Mount.
Yep, Rocky Mountain.
Okay, it's been a while. It's been a while, and um, just the family in general has been like another family to me. So I'm very grateful for that. And it's been just really good when you can be around people and automatically like there's just love there. There's just that connection there, and just that I look out for you, you look out for me. I'm happy to see you, you're happy to see me, and just that all around friendliness that I can make you laugh, you can make me laugh, things like that. And I think, you know, sometimes that's what's missing in our world today. Just that genuineness that you can tell it's there. There's no ill intent, there's nothing behind the shadows. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'm also grateful for you coming on the Fly with Bev show. And if, just to give a extra, it's about butterfly mentality and just me just trying to build a platform where people can think better than their circumstances. It's not always easy to think positive. Even I myself struggle with that at times, but I figured I would create a platform that would allow people to be able to, share some experiences or talk about the topics that are taboo in today's world. And so I chose to start the Flower Bev show because I just love talking about the things that matter. And a lot of people, keep things to themselves and don't really know how to open up or share. But even if they don't want to share, that's fine. But just knowing that someone cares, even when they think no one does. So I think that's one of the things that made me start my channel, basically. So today we have a topic at hand.
Okay.
Is this me? Oh, okay. Is that you? Is that me?
No, it went out. Both screens went out. Um,
Okay. Yeah, yours went out for like 2 seconds. But it's back. So I think it might be the fact that I'm at the library. I may have to walk a little bit and try to get into some better reception. I am in like the suburb area of North Carolina. I mean of Durham, so that's probably why. Hold on 1 second. But and I did change my location to try to get better service, but I guess I didn't. But so we wanted to talk about, and y'all let us know in the comment section if you all can hear us or if we go out, things like that, so I can know what to do. Or text me for those of y'all that have my number, just so I can know what's going on. But we wanted to talk about a certain subject that I will allow him to introduce and to introduce himself first and foremost and say what it is you would like to say. That way we can get started as well. I know it's a heavy topic, so we'll see how it goes.
okay. Greetings, everyone. I'm Alonzo Beal Sr. Attend the Rocky Mount Temple First Church of the Lord Jesus Christ. And um, through the relationship that I have with Sister Beverly, she's always been a person that I've known to speak her mind and to have a stable mindset. And I think that's why we click so so well, because she presents herself very maturely. And um, I had opportunity. This started from a documentary, a series of documentaries. I ended up watching one, and then it morphed into two more. And just being able to see the contrast between um, the way that it was in yesteryear versus the way that it is now, the change in the mindset, the change in uh, the culture of the black community, sparked this particular conversation with myself and Sister Beverly. And it's four topics really, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to get through them all. But for some reason, I feel like we're going to get stuck with the first one. which may necessitate another time. But at any rate, I wanted to kind of present what I feel about racism versus what has been said down through the years, and just kind of get a feel for where people are coming from. Not so much for me to make a statement, but I guess I just would like to have a bird's eye view of other people's opinion to compare it to mine. When you say a person is a racist, I've often wondered, do people actually know what that word racist actually means? I know what it means for me, and that's a person or a group of people who simply will not have anything to do with another race or class of people, um, to their even to their detriment. If there is a benefit, they won't accept it, um, and just complete separation. That's what I see. But the people, excuse me, y'all, that's my phone. The people today, I feel like they've taken on this image of what racism is, or categorize a person as being a racist based on things that they've heard in the past or whatever have you, with not a clear understanding of what it is. So that's what I'm trying to get some clarity on, and then hopefully we can entertain some questions.
Absolutely. So anybody in the that's watching, feel free to comment on what your definition of to be what it is to be a racist. What does that mean to you? If you're looking at today's society, if you're looking at the past, depending upon what generation you come from, many people may have a different outlook or a different definition of what that means. So I would say, give us your definition. Let's see what your definition is, and let's see, where we could find ourselves in that atmosphere. Because to me, like I was mentioning before, you can talk about something that makes you upset, and it seems like you're against, like you can be against something without being against someone. You can talk about the wrong someone does versus that person just being completely wrong. Because none of us are perfect. So there may be something in me that somebody says they don't like when I do this, but it doesn't mean they don't love me. It doesn't mean they don't care about me. They're just voicing how they feel about something I do, not me as a person as a whole. And I think sometimes, we can use that word very loosely, but there are other words to describe certain things. If I put certain people in a box, that's stereotyping. If I say everybody that's short, like they used to say short people are the angry people, like, so that's a stereotype.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they hate all short people. It just means that short people tend to be a little more edgy, and then their excuse was because they have to compensate for being so small. So it's like, in that aspect, that's just a stereotype. But then you might meet a lot of short people, or some short people that are very kind and nice and don't say too much. But you may meet some of them that have a little more edge. And then, yeah, short people, I knew they were always mean, So it just depending upon your outlook and your perception on certain things of how you're perceived. And we do have a comment that says, I know when someone is racist when their actions displays pure thoroughbred hatred. For example, I think he's typing more, Brother Trenton. He's typing more, but he just stopped. Oh, okay. Let me see. Sister Darwinika says, good topic. I do think the term, and I'll put the comments there so you can see them. I do think the term racism has been hijacked and overused as society tries to portray a sensitivity of equity and inclusiveness.
That's an interesting point. Um, so when you say that society tries to portray a sensitivity of equity and inclusiveness, are you saying that they themselves are masking their racist behavior?
Sister Darwinika, you have an
Yeah.
answer for that? see. Miss Carmen says you spoke this as how I feel as racist is. So we got a follow-up question for you, Sister Darwinika. If you can write your response in the comment section. This is those moments when I wish I had a phone line where people could call in and ask. That's my next goal for the show.
Hey, we can do it.
Absolutely. They can call in, we can put it on where everybody can hear the question. We give a response and then, hang up and the next person calls in. I like that too.
And
I'm
then
one of those people.
also I like to say when the other person that commented about the hijacking. Oh, here she is.
Yes. People try to mask their hate for one thing to push their agenda for another.
Right, right. I can, I can see that.
And Sister Annette says one that feels they are superior than another. Definitely.
So you saying that that makes that person a racist?
It to me it just depends because there are some people that could because what's the other word? A sexist person, like or a male chauvinist. They're like, I'm superior to the woman, so she's less and I'm more. So I guess it just depends upon what she meant by that. Maybe she can give us a little more detail. If you don't mind, Sister Annette, what do you mean by that? Let's see. Yeah, and that's what the other brother from the Netherlands. I'm believing it's a brother. I'm sorry if you're a brother. I don't recognize the feminine or masculinity in the name. But I know you are from the Netherlands, someone who believes that one is superior than to another. So it looks like some, do believe that if you feel as though you're superior or better than, then you're a racist. Let me see. Continue. He says, Brother Trent says, I'm a black man that sees the intelligence and the skill of a white man, but because of his race, I treat him like trash because he's skillful and intelligent. So that was what he continued. He said, I know when someone is racist when their actions display pure thoroughbred hatred. So basically, he's a black man that sees the intelligence and the skill of a white man, but because of his race, I treat him like trash because he's skillful and intelligent. So you deny what he can do simply based off of the color of his skin. That's what it sounds like he's saying.
So you his skill intelligence is marginalized based upon his um, the color of his skin. That's what you're
Well, that's what I was just reading from Brother Trenton. He's basically saying, oh, and greetings, Sister Dalek. I'm sorry you are a sister. I didn't know, but now I know. Thank you. Let's see. Sister Thierry, good morning. I'm late, but I'm here. Good morning. We're asking for those that have just joined or coming in and coming out. I know we're asking about your definition of racism and what it means to you. As we are going to go a little bit further in a little bit, but just want to see the different definitions and to give an example, if you can, of what it is. It's me, Fly with Bev, and Brother Bill as well. Um, this topic is very controversial and it can bring out different emotions from different people. We see that across the world, across the board, and just to me, it's just doing something to me, doing something to a group of people because of the color of their skin or the category they're in with the intent, sometimes with the belief, and the reassurance, you're going to get away with it. Like, it's so many ways you can think about it, like just as they would consider to be white privilege, like I'm doing something to this individual that's a black person because I know I'm going to get away with this, because nobody really likes them anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not important anyway. So I'm going to do something that I know is going to offend this person, watch and wait for their reaction, and then use it against them and plead the fifth or seem as though I'm innocent because I know that I'm going to be able to get away with this because this type of person is going to be this way based off of what I just said to them. So it's kind of it's so much wrapped up in one. Let me see. Miss Carmen says, growing up in Louisiana, it was really bad. It took me moving to Colorado that my mind frame was wowed. You never know how racist we may be until you see a whole new world. And what do you mean by that? Was your world better in Colorado, or was it, you know, and I think that's what she's saying. Like you step outside of what you're used to when
Hmm.
something is bad, and then you see like, whoa, people are nicer than what I thought they could be, maybe.
Well, with that said, and certainly I'm not um, taking up for anyone who has a racist mentality, but when you have that closed cultural experience where your community is a certain group of families, 30 families, that's all you know. Well, there's a mindset that's gendered simply because you don't have exposure.
Right,
So when you label that person as a racist, I look at racist as something nefarious. Okay, but a person could be so closed, that's all they know, and their actions appear to be racist.
right.
Not to say that they are, it just appears that way because this is the only world that I know. That's a question.
Yeah, I mean, even even the opposite of that. Like me growing up, and I mentioned to you this to you before, me growing up in a community, I grew up in a black neighborhood. Like everybody just about that I knew that was there was black when I was growing up. But when I went to school, I had all different races of friends. Like not everybody looked like me. That's why when they say racism is something that's taught, like, it's definitely something that's taught. It's something that's observed, something that you fall into because that's what you see everybody else doing. But me growing up as a kid, some of my best friends were that of another race. And, but I never saw their color. That was never, oh, that's my white best friend. It was never that as a kid. It was always, that's my best friend, Brittany, or that's my best friend, Kiara, or that's my best friend, Ashley. It was never, what color they were. So I grew up in that atmosphere in elementary school, went to middle school and high school predominantly black, but also running into my Spanish speaking best friends, but they were just my best friends. Like it wasn't a thing of color. And because of the schools that I grew up in, I think North Carolina has been a Republican state for I don't know how long, but it wasn't really taught. Say it again.
A very long time.
So it wasn't really taught much about, racism, or it wasn't taught to us about slavery, should I say, about, the things that Black people went through, things like that. So some may look at me if I take up for someone that's white. Some may look at me and say, Black people may look at me and say, you're the part of the problem. But because of my upbringing and where I come from, I never saw white people as a threat growing up. It wasn't until I got older and went out into the real world that I began to see, like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. It's like I came out of a bubble or out of a shell because it's like, oh, what is this? Like, okay, this is really, really real. This wasn't just back in the day. This is happening now. And it's still going on.
Well,
So let me see, we still got some comments. I'm sorry, hold on one second. Sister Darnika says, I also don't know how I feel about people treating me nice or better because of my skin color either. Like if you are kind to me with the thought, oh, poor brown girl, that's difficult to swallow. Um, Also, she says, I don't think that individuals who do that are racist by typical standards, but is it not racist to treat someone any kind of way based of race? Or is that simply ignorance?
I think it's a mixture of the two. Again, going back to the closed environment,
Yeah.
what one is basically taught as this is the norm, but it could be very well the norm for that small community. And when you venture out beyond those borders, like the one sister said, it's a totally different it's a totally different world, totally different experience. Interact. There are people that have I know have grown up with the mindset that people of color can only do but so much, or they can only speak a certain their dialect is just affixed to this particular way. And then when you speak intelligently, they awe at, you know. But that's nothing to be in awe about. Speaking has nothing to do with your color. Absolutely nothing. So again, expanding your borders. I think that's probably the root cause. But also on the other hand, vulnerability, which I think that we are really not favorable about making ourselves vulnerable. And what I mean by that is being exposed to different people or different cultures with an apprehension that something negative could happen. My feelings could be bruised, hurt, annihilated, blown up, whatever. I don't think that we as black people, because we've gone through so much, want to open that door and allow ourselves to be vulnerable. So I think by putting up a wall is detrimental to us.
Yeah,
By opening ourselves up, it can be detrimental to some, because there are some that go, "Hey, I don't care what you think. Whatever way you feel about me, that's your opinion. It doesn't affect me. I'm more like on that end." Then, in some people, it will bother them to their core if others are not accepting of them. You know, so I think that door kind of swings both ways.
oh, absolutely. And it's sad that we live in that. It's like almost feeling like a lose lose situation.
Right.
It's absolutely sad to even think about that, because think about all the things we have to now we have to train the children, because it's so popular in a way where when I was a kid, I'm not saying racism wasn't popular, but I didn't see it much. So now I have the challenge to, you know, teach my children where it's more so in their faces than it was mine. I have to, like, and my dad in them days, it was in their face. Like, he would tell us stories about how they had to be in the house before the street lights came on, and how his father would have to, if when he went to go visit my grandmother before they were married, he had to be back over the bridge by a certain time, because my grandma would be like, look, if you don't get back over there, if they catch you, they'll hang you, things like that, because she was full-blooded Cherokee. So, it was, those things were more so in their faces. But when I grew up, we were all a community. It wasn't in our faces. And then now the children of today, it's in their faces. And it's like I'm challenged, if it be the Lord's will for me to even have kids, which I'm not really betting on now, really. It doesn't bother me not to have any. But just to think there's a responsibility as a parent, not to send your children out there oblivious to the obvious, but at the same time, still teaching them that love that they're supposed to have for anyone. But it's just, it's such a thin line, because, it's like you have to teach them how to protect themselves against the things, but you also have to give them the knowledge of what they're protecting themselves from, and at the same time teaching love, not hate, but understanding that you can only do but so much, because eventually their experiences will teach them how to respond in their own manner. And there is nothing that you can actually do about that. You know, even though you may teach them, okay, this is what's going on. This is how you protect yourself if you get pulled over by a white police officer or whatever the case may be, or any police officer. This is what you do. If somebody says this to you, this is what this means, or if somebody says that to you, it's like giving them the terminology, giving them the knowledge of what it means, giving them the knowledge of what not to accept for themselves. At the same time, they still have a choice of what they're going to do with it, and not all the time are they going to respond in the right manner sometimes, or what is the right manner sometimes. That's the question. Sometimes it's because if you do respond, you get punished for it. If you don't, you still get punished for it. So, and I think that was one of the things that, uh-oh, are we still there? Did he drop out? Anybody see him? Oh goodness, let me see. Is that my internet or his, you guys? No, it looks like he dropped out. Okay, hold on. Let me scroll through the comments. Anybody in the comment section? Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Can y'all write in the comment section? He's gone. Okay. Oh, I hope he comes back in. I'm gonna keep looking out. Let me read these comments. Okay, y'all hear me? Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see. I also don't know how I feel about okay. Oh yeah, going back to like, oh poor brown girl, and I do believe sometimes that is an ignorant thing to say, but in their minds, I think they think about the things that we have been through and the things that we do go through, and I think sometimes they feel some, it may not be the best thing, but they feel sorry for us. We didn't choose our color, so in their minds, they're like, oh my gosh, like you don't even realize you have to go through this because of your skin. Maybe that's the case, not all the time though, because in their mind it's like, oh, poor brown girl, because they're like, I'm better than you. Let me see. I don't think that individuals who do that are racist by typical standards, but is it not racist to treat someone any kind of way based of race, or is that simply ignorance? And like we said earlier, it's a mixture. Racism is taught, so therefore it is ignorance. Exactly. Not knowing about another race and or fear of the unknown. That right there, that word right there has caused a lot of issues in the world. Fear. People fear what they don't understand. And because they don't understand us, or they see the strength in us, or they see that we could be just as good as them, they treat us a certain type of way. I know that to be true. I believe that to be true. Definitely. Okay, he's coming back. Let me see. I think he's coming back in. I see him hopping back up there. It's so funny how I can't see anything on my. Oh, yep, hold on. Wait. Layout. Okay, done. Oh, let me see. I don't know why my phone is so weird. It won't let me like add them. Okay, there we go.
Okay,
You back?
I had to go to my phone. I don't know what's going on, but
Okay.
obviously the subject is good. I missed about maybe a minute and a half. So
Okay, so this is what I did. I'm gonna backtrack because I went over Sister Annette's statement. She said racism is taught, so therefore it is ignorance, not knowing about another race and or fear of the unknown. And my comment to that was fear has been a very big issue
okay,
because, ooh,
no, that's me. I'm trying to hold on a minute.
okay, oh, did he drop out of the wrong one? Okay, hold on.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. All right, we're back. Okay. So my comment to that was fear has been a very big issue. Like fear has been something people, and pastor says this all the time. People fear what they don't understand. So they don't understand certain things. They don't understand, and the crazy part about it is what is causing that fear of them not under like what is causing that fear? Like, what exactly is causing that fear? They fear what they don't understand. However, how can you understand something you don't even take the time to understand? So it's like you have this fear of what? Like, what is it? Like, of course, you have certain power because of your skin color. So, in your mindset, I fear anyone that could become quote unquote equal with me. Is that the fear?
It very
Right?
well could be, and also too, fear is taught. If you go back to after the Civil War, it was taught that black men were this kind of sex craved uh, individual. They had to have, and I know this from being a firearms instructor. Back then, they actually developed certain ammunitions that they said were necessary to take a black man down, specifically to take a black man down. So those types of stereotypes, that false information that's delivered and played over in a particular race will develop unjustified fear. And when a person is afraid, well, you can expect them to do just about anything because they it's about self-preservation. So whatever I have to do to preserve my life, I'm going to do that. And that's where you get all of this chaos.
Rigmarole, foolishness, all that good jazz. Let me see. Let me. Okay, Miss Carmen says, living here, it made me see that I was kind of racist. When I saw all types of colors united, is when I had to change my mindset. I was ashamed and I didn't know I was like that. You really can be a product of your environment until the light is shined and your mentality is shaken to the core.
Now,
Well stated.
was
That was
was she from a, not to cut you off, a smaller
she was from
community?
Louisiana and then she moved to Colorado.
So more populated in Louisiana with people of color than Colorado.
That were right. So I guess seeing that this is one way, and then you come and see all these different people united, it's kind of like, whoa, what
Right.
y'all do? Like, what's going on here? That's not what we do.
Right. Hmm. That's
So I mean,
like,
that's understandable.
well, that's kind of like what Malcolm X said when he made his pilgrimage, and he saw all different types of races or race at, during this Muslim pilgrimage, and that changed his whole entire mind. Um,
Exactly.
so yeah, I agree with that.
Exactly. Let me see. We have a question. We have a question. Sister Shauna says, if someone is taught, oh, let me put it up. If someone is taught to hate a certain race and that's all they have been around, then grow up, express that hatred, which is their norm, does that not make them a racist?
I Now, if you're asking me, my answer is going to be no. That doesn't make them a racist, because how can you? I think in order to say a person is a racist, they have to choose to be this particular way. When you have someone who has been taught this, and this is how they've been groomed, that's all that they know. Is it that's equal to the person that lives in a very small community. They don't know anything outside of that. So it takes. Remember, I said about that vulnerability. Someone has to be willing to take the risk of being hurt to help educate those that have this closed type of mentality. That's what I
Right.
think. So I would say no, that doesn't make a person a racist. And again, my earlier statement about, if you are a true racist, you're not going to want to have anything to do with the other race. You're not going to want them to help you if you're sick, go to their establishments to eat, and that happens all over the place. So I wouldn't say that some of the people that we've labeled as racist are actually racist. I think they just have a closed mentality, and they need more exposure.
Right. If they want it. Because I feel like some people could be, this is all I've known. I don't
Mhm.
have to change my mindset. This is what my dad did. This is what his father did. So it's up to me to keep carrying the torch.
But is that fear factor that you just spoke about?
It could be that fear factor of not wanting to expand their horizons because of what it's going to cause in the family structure. And on top of that, what it's going to make them feel on the inside.
So
Because they're going to have to feel another emotion that they're not used to feeling.
I agree with you. But does that make them, in your mind, a racist or a person
I
overcome with fear?
Well, to me, I think it's a bit of both because if you choose to keep up something that you know is a racist behavior, then if your choice is if you know there's a way out of the way you're living and you choose to stay there, then you have now chosen to live a life of a racist. But
Right.
if you choose to combat that and say, I'm no longer going to have this behavior, I'm going to join in with those of a different color because I see what this has done over the years. To me, I feel like when it's a choice, like, okay, it's one thing, like you said, if that's all you knew. But when you grow up and realize there's something better and you choose not to step out of it, then that's when it becomes your choice to live that lifestyle.
Well, I think the key word there is, when you realize. I think a person would have to know first, right, that
Right.
Their thinking is incorrect before they can change it. So people who have been groomed, um, or live in these communities that are isolated, it's going to be hard for them because um, who's going to take the chance on them? I mean, who's gonna make themselves vulnerable to show this person, hey, that black people or people of color, they're not like what you think. Who's gonna take that chance? And that's something that's, if you go back to one of the documentaries, Booker's Place, if you remember,
Mhm.
he told his daughter, he said, hey, remember, I've had a good life. Now you have to ask yourself, what on earth could he be thinking about in the background? Because in the background, you're like, what? How can you say yeah? So I think what happens is we learn where our place is.
Right.
And that's how you can have some of this coexisting going on. Because if I don't step across this line, it's not going to be no worse than what it is. But if I do step across this line, that's where my troubles come. So I could probably label it and say, hey, yeah, I had a good life. And
Yeah.
people looking on the other side are like, wow, how on earth can you even say that?
When you were limited.
Right.
But he
Exactly.
did the best with what he was given, is what you're saying. He did the best with what he was given. So he knew that him crossing that line finally could potentially take his life. And in his mind, I don't have I don't have any regrets because he eventually because I know that he was taken away from his mom as a little child
Yeah.
and he never really understood. And he
Right.
was finally reconciled with her. And that's when he realized that his mom wanted to be with him, but he was taken away. Um, and so it was like after all of that, then in his mind, he's like, okay, well, I don't have nothing else. I've done everything. I've reconciled with my mom. Things seem, on this, with the limitations I was given, I did the best I could. So whatever happens after I speak out, that's what's meant to happen.
So would you say that for this piece, there has to be a certain level of acceptance?
I think it has to be acceptance at some point because you know you can't change the way people think or feel. You
Right.
cannot change the way I don't care how many times you yell at a child and tell them to stop touching something. If they feel like they still want to touch it after you yell at them, then they're going to touch it. They're either going to look at you sometimes while they're trying to touch it because in their minds, I don't know why she's yelling at me like I'm still going to do this. I'm curious about this. So it takes them within themselves to say, okay, like mom really don't want me to touch that. And she's yelling for a reason. Let me not do that. So that made them think to themselves, okay, I'm clearly gonna have something happen to me if I do this again. So let me just not. But it takes that individual to have that mindset to change. You don't change the heart, you don't change the mind, you don't change the person, you
Right.
don't change the action. So it's just a matter of accepting what is. Yes, do all you can to, because I even, when we did the marches and things like that and protesting in Philadelphia, it's good to be able to see so many people come together and be a part of those things. And you want to see change, you want to see things be different. But at the end of the day, when you hit your head on that pillow, how many things can you truly say have changed?
Right.
And how many things can you truly say will eventually resolve? This,
Right.
to me, you have to accept that there's going to always be someone that feels this way. There's going to always be someone that look at you because of the color of your skin and say you're not good enough. Not because you're not qualified, not because you're not smart enough, not because you don't have the right words, not because you don't have the right presentation, simply because you're black or you're a person of color. There's always going to be someone that thinks that way. So you have to accept it and decide what you're going to do about it with what you can do.
Right. There's going to always be opposition, as long as people remain individuals. And it's just the scriptures teach us about the doctrine of life. There is one doctrine and there's one way. Many don't accept that, but in order to have true peace, That's what you're going to have to come into the light of. Um, but that hearing and accepting that truth is an individual choice. Because even the scriptures say, it says, choose ye. You have to make a choice. Just like hatred and love, you have to make a choice whether you're going
Right.
to hate or whether you're going to love. And to do both, actually, and this is kind of weird, you know, both take a certain amount of willingness to be vulnerable. Because if you're going to go out and do hate crimes, well, there's a risk something could happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to open up your heart and love, there's certainly a risk that something could happen to you. You know, maybe not so much physically, but emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a that's a big risk for some.
Absolutely. And some people are willing to take the hate risk, and some people are willing to take the love risk.
Yeah.
You just got to
But
pick your poison, as they would say.
all of it still is a choice.
Absolutely. And nobody is forcing, like, nobody's forcing it. Now, if it's taught to you and you're younger, technically they rob you of that choice because they're teaching you. But like I was saying earlier, when you get older and you see that there's a better way and you make that choice to continue in that hate, and that's when you choose to be a racist. That's how I see, you
Right.
know? Let me see. We got
That
some comments. We
that
got a lot of comments, actually. I'm
yeah
sorry. Go
that
ahead.
that comment right there by is that Tierra Reed?
Yes, Sister Tiara.
Now that speaks to your point just
Right.
now.
Let me see. My grandmother was a white woman and grandfather was a black man, so being racist was not an option for me. However, some of the aunties on my grandmother's side were very racist. They didn't talk to us or anything, and that hurts coming from family. But now that I'm older, it doesn't bother me like it used to. Exactly. You have that choice of whether you're gonna jump on board with that or whether or not you're gonna run from it. I mean,
Now,
run towards it.
I see.
I
I
mean, run
think
away from it.
when you say racist, that particular setting there fits the bill more so than anything else, because you know that those children are the offspring and they are a part of your family. You know that. So
Right.
to treat them, to ill treat them, well, you're certainly making that choice to to do that. You're making that choice. I don't want to have anything to do with you. Why? Because of the color of your skin. That's a whole different. That's not somebody teaching you that. That's not you being in a small world. That's you making that decision based upon a person's color. So that more so
Absolutely.
the definition of racist to me than anything else that we've talked about today. That does.
See, let me see. Sister Shauna says, how about a person who grew up where their norm, excuse me, was hurting other people, and when they got out of that small-minded place, they went elsewhere and caused harm. Aren't they still someone who assaults?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
because I mean, go ahead. Sorry, I'll let
I'm,
you take that one.
I'm just saying nothing actually changed.
Right,
They, and I guess the point that right making is that that's truly a mindset, because you left from one area, you had opportunity to be exposed, and then you still carried on with the same behavior. So
right.
yeah, that's truly a choice. I agree with that.
Which to me, but at the same time, you can take the person out of the situation, but you can't take the situation out of the person. So their intentions may have been to escape what they consider to be their norm, but what was embedded in them still allowed them to duplicate and do again those things that they was trying to get away from. So it wasn't the physical atmosphere they needed to leave; it was the internal atmosphere that they
That
needed
needs
to
to
leave.
change. That needs to
Yeah.
change. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because, and that, I think that's the thing, if what I'm doing is consistent with something that was done to me, then it's clear to me that even though I tried to escape that, you know, it somehow still got rooted in me. So I got to figure out how to get it out. And that does take work and it does take a choice, to choose something different. And I think Viola Davis was talking about that. Her father actually left their home left his home early because of abuse that he was getting. But then he ended up abusing her siblings and her and her mother, and if I'm not mistaken, I do know that he was abusing her mother, and she had a hard road trying to forgive her father for that. And then as time went on, it came to her like, oh my gosh, my dad only did what was done to him, even though he didn't, that was all he knew, and even though he tried to get away from it. So that helped her forgive because she could see that he didn't intentionally mean to be that way, but evidently his circumstances of growing up put that in him. It doesn't mean that you excuse the behavior,
Right.
but you do have to understand that at some point there is a choice you have to make on how to get away from that, and you do have to put in the work for it too.
But I think also to your point, if you have a situation where you're growing up in an abusive environment and there is nothing offered to you while you're there or even after you to show a contrast, then it's inevitable.
Yeah,
That behavior is going to come out. It may not be immediate, but it's going to come out because it's ingrained in you. So you have to
absolutely.
do something to show you, hey, no, that's incorrect the way that it should be. And absent of that, people are not going to be able to change.
Right.
You can't do what you don't know.
Exactly. Cannot escape what you don't know how to escape or haven't been given the knowledge of how to escape that thing.
Right,
And that's why I say knowledge is power. He evidently could recognize what he was in wasn't great, but he couldn't understand how to get it out of him.
right. To break the cycle there.
Did I just do that?
What?
My people still there? Can y'all still hear me? I don't know what just happened.
I I can hear you. Oh, now I don't
Okay, I
see.
must be still live. Let me know if y'all can hear me or see me, because I can't. Oh, okay.
Okay.
There I am. Let me see.
Well, let me ask you this: Do we have? Is that 10 minutes
Let
left,
me
or
see. Let me see. Let me see. Brother Bill, what did I just do? My alarms, I tell you.
you're here? I can hear you.
Okay, can y'all hear me? Because my clearly uh things are not going the way that they should today. We are trying so hard. Y'all can still hear me? Can y'all see me?
I can hear you, but I can't see.
Can everybody see me? Let me see. I know he's still here. Can y'all see me? Can y'all see him? I don't know what's going on. Today has been a very interesting service day. Every time I try to get somebody on here, my phone want to act up. I'm in here trying to clean up. Can y'all see me as well? Okay, y'all can hear me, but I want to know if y'all can see me and not see me. Okay. Oh, goodness, Lord Jesus. Let me see. Y'all see Brother Bill? Okay, but y'all can't see.
Uh oh. Where'd you go, Bev? I don't see or hear you at all. Oh, I think I got
Let
audio.
me see.
Can you
This is so terrible, I know. Oh, man, it's such a lovely day. And clearly, I'm not in the right space today. Again. Sorry, I know y'all hear me complain, but I can't hear you or see you, Brother Bill.
Oh wow. I can hear you.
Let me see. I may have to end it and then come back in. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. Can't see you. We can see, brother, and we can hear you. Not no more. You were fine before you thought something was wrong. Okay. This is so terrible. I know y'all can hear me. Sorry. Let me mute my.
I can see you now, but I can't hear you. There you go.
Okay. Trying to figure this out. Yeah, but I can't hear him or see him. So that's not a good thing. Welcome back. Well, that's one of me. It's always.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if I can. You probably can hear me now. Let me see. Gonna. Okay. I don't know if you can hear me, but I can see you and hear you now.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but I can't see you. I can hear you.
Know. Hold on one second. Hold on. Yeah, I guess you'll be able to see me in a couple seconds. I think it takes a little bit to vamp it up, I guess. But where did we leave off? I done forgot. It's always something. Every time I go live with somebody, it's always it's not it's like my bandwidth is not strong enough to hold anybody but me, I guess. It's very selfish.
It looks like Sister Annette said she didn't experience blatant discrimination until she got to North Carolina, and she's from Tennessee. In her environment growing up, she said she was shielded from blatant discrimination.
That
But
sounds like me.
my question is, did you actually not experience it, or you didn't know that it was
What you were experiencing.
something different? Yeah,
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think as a kid, though, I don't think I really understood if I was being approached by discrimination or racism or anything like that, you know. And as a teenager, I didn't think I was either. Like I said, I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, and then my high school and middle school was predominantly black. So, but I had a mixture of teachers. And then it wasn't until I got into the medical field and had a patient that nobody wanted, all the black workers didn't want to deal with. And I asked them, I was like, well, what's wrong? And they were like, he's racist. I don't want to deal with him. He wouldn't let nobody touch him. He wouldn't let nobody take his blood pressure, no, nothing. So I said, oh, okay, challenge accepted. So I walk into the room because I'm not afraid of, I do my best not to be afraid of anybody walking. And I went in there and I said, hey, how you doing? Began to talk and asked, could I take, the blood pressure and things like that. And I can tell there was a little bit of hesitancy, but it was still completed. Work was still done. I walked out and they were like, what just happened? I was like, y'all can be out here scared if y'all want to be, but I got the job done. Tell the doctor he's ready.
Look. Let me ask you this. So, with that accomplishment, would you say that your personality was able to allow him to see something outside of perhaps what he had been taught?
That's possible.
And see, that was that vulnerability. You had to allow yourself to be able to go in and do what you had to do with with the possibility that there could have been some negative consequences, emotionally. You could have gotten some negative action from that, but you allowed yourself to be vulnerable, and I think that's what's missing.
Yes,
That's what's missing in today's society is just we don't take into account that we have to help one another, to overcome. So
absolutely. And I think in my mind, because I had never experienced that before, I was like, wow, somebody really could be that way. But it really opened my eyes, like, yeah, get out of your little bubble, Bev. This is the real world. And it
Right.
took me being out there in the real world to experience that. Let me see. Brother Trent says, I agree that racism is taught. The movie 42 is a great example of how racism is taught from the youth up. Pay attention to the little Caucasian boy yelling in the stands, mimicking what he assumes is right. And it was a part in 42. I love that movie, by the way. And I don't know if people are familiar, but yeah, it's about Jackie Robinson, the first black or African American, as they would say,
That it make
um, in the Major League Baseball. And he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Number was 42. And they were hollering racial slurs and all these things about him. And this one boy in the stands began to repeat what he heard others say. And I believe they were in Louisville, Kentucky, because there was his teammate by the name of Pee Wee, and he actually came to 42. According to the movie, I don't know how accurate every event was, but he put his arm around Jackie Robinson's shoulder and he said, you know, I want my family to know who I am, basically letting them know, like, I'm not a racist and I love everybody, you know. And so the little boy, they showed him again, and his face was looking like, wow, was I supposed to say those things? Like, was I supposed to have those same emotions that everybody else was having? And it goes to show you that sometimes that's just how you brought up and you automatically fall into those same patterns because like you said earlier, that's all you see, that's all you know. And
right.
it takes someone to show you something different for you to realize it's not all what you think it is.
So
Okay.
with that being said, if a person is just following the pack, I don't think I would. I don't, with that knowledge, I don't think that I would classify that person as a racist. I would classify them as being weak, you know, having a weak mind. But as far as being a racist, I don't think they would fit that category.
And that's true. I think you can look at it as people or kids, you know, growing up and trying to fit in. So they choose to follow the crowd, you know, and do what everybody else is doing, but it doesn't make them, when they sit back and think about it, they just trying to fit in. They just not trying to be a sore thumb. They
Right.
haven't yet come into their own mindset and their own personality and allowed themselves to be able to be an individual just yet. So I guess
Okay.
you could
So,
kind of look at it like that.
but that goes right back to that fear factor.
Yeah,
Does it not? It goes right back to the fear that we talked about. So racism, basically, to overcome it, you have to be willing to be vulnerable, and you have to be willing to overcome your fears. I think. I think
that's
that
true.
plays a major role.
We keep going back to that fear factor because I just feel like that plays such an important role in the behaviors of other people. And I'm sorry, y'all, I am kind of leaving the library, so if you hear me walking out of doors and stuff, that's why. But it's sad that fear has such a grip on people that they choose to make the decisions they do, and then tell us we definitely have to live with it. But they don't want to admit that it's fear. That's the thing. They
Right.
don't want to admit that it's fear because in their mindset, it makes them feel weak.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And I think that's the sad part. Being vulnerable to say that, well, I am afraid. I don't really understand what's going on here. I don't really understand who they are as a person or whatever the case may be. So this is why I'm behaving this way.
Yep.
Let me
I
see.
agree.
What does she say? People can change once they come out of any toxic environment, but if they are not willing to let go of their beliefs of hatred or any such thing, they probably will still behave how they were taught. Right, and we was talking about that as well earlier. Let me see. I believe in the days of slavery. Excuse me. I'm sorry. The Caucasians were inwardly scared of what blacks would do to them if they were to step out of the fear of what their slave masters would do to them. Let me
Hmm.
see.
I
Um,
understand that. Yeah, and that's probably very accurate. Um, there was one lady that they interviewed. I think it was on CNN when Barack Obama was running for president. She happened to be a Caucasian, and she was an older lady, and she didn't want to vote for him because she said that he would just um, get into office and do everything to help his people. And what's so odd about that is that's the way it has been ever since this country was um, actually founded. It's just been tilted to the other side, and she's okay with that, but not the other way around. So,
So it's
yeah.
like a double standard.
Well, absolutely. If it's okay for you to be partial, and you're holding a particular office, and then someone else gets in that same office, but is incorrect and not acceptable for them to be partial, then what do you call it? I mean,
Right.
it's a double standard, you
And
know?
we're definitely used to the double standards in America, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely,
it's a very popular thing, and it's a sad thing that it's a double standard. Just
absolutely.
and just about any subject, just about there's a double standard. Like I mentioned earlier about white privilege. You can
Hmm.
have a black person go out and kill people, and you know they're going to get the biggest sentence if they're not already dead.
Hmm.
And then you can have an individual that goes out that's white, or some would say politically correct Caucasian, that goes out and commit a murder, and then all of a sudden it's mental health issues. It's pleading insanity,
Right,
saying that, oh, they weren't in their right mind, they had a troubled past, and all these other things where it has caused them to do XYZ. And I
right,
know these shows, was that Law and Order, they say that they don't show what's happening, that they're not trying to depict any certain image based off of what events have occurred in life. That's what they tell us
right.
in their disclaimer. But it was this case, and I was telling my dad about it because it was so interesting to me how the case was. The son was showing like moments of rage. He ended up stabbing one of his teachers with a razor blade. The dad paid off the teacher to not say anything for $100,000 and all that good jazz. And then the father bought the son a gun. It was a Caucasian family. The father bought the son a gun at the age of 17. Well, he gave him a gun that his father gave him. Now, his son is already showing that he's emotionally unstable,
Right.
but he gave him the gun. Then the kid got into a fight with another Caucasian kid on the soccer field. Came home, told his dad because he got, beat up. He didn't win the fight. So his dad told him, you need to man up and you need to do something. You need to you defend yourself. So, of course, the son took it upon himself, take the gun, told the student, we're going to solve this or whatever. And the student, feeling threatened, he who didn't have a gun, according to the story that they showed, they didn't show all the details, but the other student said he charged at the student with the gun. They were tussling. The principal comes in and gets killed
Mm.
to try to stop the fight. So instead of them, they basically, what ended up happening was the DA said, okay, I want to charge the father for this murder. He said, because here it is, your son is already emotionally disturbed. He's already emotionally imbalanced. He's not where he should be. You're going to give him a gun, then tell him to man up. So he takes it upon himself. Well, I got to show myself to be a man. So let me take this gun and do what I got to do. And even though the boy said I really wasn't going to shoot him, but he wanted to scare him or whatever, the bottom line is he still made a choice.
Right.
But they put the wife in between it and said, you either testify against your son or you testify against your husband. So which one would you rather see go to prison? Your son being charged as an adult or your husband? And she ended up testifying against her husband, and her husband, basically let her know like it's okay. It's okay. Let's just leave our son home. But and then the husband ended up being charged with the murder. And if you think about these things, like it's like, man, like in certain situations like this, you look at that and you're like, that's something, because it was something that the father gave to the son that contributed to the way the son thought, evidently. And so that's what the DA was that's what his case was.
Right. He
That,
cited. Uh,
right, basically gave him that mindset by giving him something that could cause harm to someone else to defend himself. And, even though he took him hunting and things like that, at that moment, he wasn't hunting no deer, he was hunting a human being. And that caused trouble. So it goes back to things being taught or things being given or things being handed down. And although the father's intent wasn't for his son to go out and hurt anybody, the bottom line is it was still something that could have been, prevented had his father really taken in consideration where his son was and his mindset. And so you think about how they will quickly say, oh, well, this is a mental health issue and things like that simply because of the color of their skin. But you allow someone else that's black to have the same issues, the same type of background, the same type of lifestyle. Equal lifestyles, different colors bring different results. And that shouldn't be.
I agree. When I was out there as a police officer, um, the solution for those that on crack was for me to arrest them and put as many in jail as I possibly could. Now you have the opioid uh,
Yes.
epidemic, and it's everyone needs to go to some type of counseling or drug intervention or something like that. Well, you're doing the drugs for the same purpose. So why is it that, I mean, this is rhetorical, I know, but why is it that if you are not just maybe of another race, Caucasian, or you're a person of means, it's a different outcome for you. But the man that's smoking crack or the woman that's smoking crack trying to escape the same reality, maybe for different reasons, but trying to escape them, you want to put in jail for as long as you possibly can. The system has been jacked ever since it basically started, and I think people have just come to accept it now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Let me see. What's the next one? We still got a few we got to catch up on. If they showed any form of disobedience, the power was stripped from them. Their will to fight back was shackled. So as of today, blacks are no longer in bondage. So maybe they're scared of us because of that. Basically, we have more freedom, more opportunities to do better
yeah,
than the past, and that does scare some people because they know that we're capable of being just as awesome as they are because we are. Like we're not inferior. Like
right,
we're not inferior, and we shouldn't see ourselves as such, and there are some that do.
right. It's like the town, I think it was, they called it Black Wall Street, and an unruly mob, I think, went in and burnt that down, and that was a town of color. So the question is, if it's doing well, blossom, not affecting anybody in an adverse way, why would you go in and do such, except for the fact that, again, you become my equal, and that I just can't have. I have to be able to stand on top of you in order for myself to feel good.
Mm,
And I think that's a whole lot of this. I mean, because the color of your skin doesn't mean anything, Bev. Think about it. What is the real underlying cause? And I think it is because a lot of people, in order for them to feel good about themselves, they have to stand on somebody else.
yeah, and that lets you know that they're insecure.
Exactly.
They're
Weakness.
insecure and weak minded, and they really truly don't have the confidence in themselves that they should. Because if they did, you can be confident and still see someone else and know within yourself you're still as good as they are.
Right.
And if looking at someone else makes you feel less than, then that means you need to fix what's on the inside of you.
Right. That's
But
correct.
they're not willing to admit that though. They're not going to admit that because that in their eyes that's a form of weakness. But anytime you take the time to admit where you truly are, that's when you truly can begin to be better within self. But they don't want to admit those things because it's a harsh reality for them. Because for so long they have felt like they've been powerful, and now they see that we are no longer giving them that opportunity to make us feel like they have all the power and we are helpless. We're actually stepping up and trying to do better for ourselves and being entrepreneurs and doing things in a different aspect, being educated, going to school, getting these, job opportunities that many didn't think that we could ever, obtain. But it's only because they kept us from obtaining them. We could have been done these things, but you limit someone's knowledge, you limit their opportunities.
Hmm. Which, as you know, I guess if you can see me, I had a little smirk when you said um, that other hot button topic, which was number three.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we even have. we even have time to open up
We
that?
slowly running out of time.
That
we
would
got.
probably
We're gonna
it,
have to. We're definitely gonna have to do another part. We're gonna have to do part two to this.
okay,
Lord
because
willing.
that that first black quotation, I think that's an issue for me, as I expressed to you the other day, that I really don't get that. And I would be interested to know what the viewers um, actually feel, how they think about that, or has anyone ever considered it before? How it actually kind of marginalizes a person's achievement when you say when you affix your race to your accomplishment. I think it marginalizes.
Yeah. And I just you're either the first to do something or you're the 10th, 1 millionth, 1 billionth person. It should never be, it should never be you're the first white, you're the first black, you're the first green, you're the first yellow. It should always be. Now, if you're the first in the family to accomplish something or things like that, and you want to celebrate that amongst your family, let's say you're in a family of people that nobody ever went to college or had a really hard life and they had to drop out of school to take care of this, take care of that, and then you just so happen to be the person that achieves all those goals and you want to celebrate that amongst your family. To me, that's one thing
Right,
because that's something that you want to celebrate because of look at all the track record of the family. And I
right.
get it, I can get it and I don't get it because they want to celebrate the first black person to do XYZ, but it wasn't because it couldn't have been done. It was because of what was limited for us, and I think, it's just hurtful that it took so long for certain things to be allowed. And it's sad, like in their minds, they have allowed us to do this because they have held us back for so long that, oh, this is the first person we've allowed to do this. And that's what I was telling you. That's how it feels. We've finally allowed a person to get in this position of color. We've
And
finally
that
allowed a black woman to be this.
right. And that's the way, though. If you're going to use that, if a person or outlet is going to say first, and then they put the race to it, well, bring all the rest of it with it. Just like you just said, this is the first black man who has been allowed to do thus and so in this racist country or in this country. Don't even put races in this country. Well, now
Mm-hmm.
you got the whole picture, and it doesn't look like this particular individual was something special or so much an oddity. It was the fact that he or she was held back because of the practices of this country. And you put it like that, then I can accept that. But when you just say first black, I just can't.
As if we just
That's
became great yesterday.
yeah,
Like,
that's a
what?
to me. I mean, I don't really see how a person can accept that, but it would be good to hear
Absolutely.
some other comments on that.
Let me see. Do we have any? I think it stopped a little while ago with the comments. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, sister. Well, one of the sisters, Sister Tisha says, "Hi, Sister Tisha." She said, "A great misconception that I have heard a lot is black people can't be racist, and that's not true." I'm gonna read a couple of them because we're gonna have to wrap up in a little bit. Let me see. A great misconception that I've heard. I'm gonna read it again. A lot is black people can't be racist, and that's not true. Sister Annette says, "But if you are taught racism and that what you know and practice, they are racist until they are untaught." So those two things to me can go together because if a black person is taught the 8 white votes, and I do know black people, and I do know some people that have been in my family that will talk about white folks, and they know they do not. That is not a thing for them. They don't really care too much for white people. They just don't, and they grew up in that era where it was popular for them to like. They grew up in the 50s and the 60s,
Hmm.
and so I would hear even some of my own aunts, and that did not care for white folks and still don't really truly to this day. So it's like, you know, it's something that's in them. So for people to say that black people can't be racist, it's just if you truly do hate that race of people and you don't want no one to do anything for you, you don't care for them at all, you like that's just not your cup of tea, as they would say. then you cannot say that black people can't. And I've heard that too. I've heard that too, that black people can't be racist. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's a complete and utter fallacy. I know when I was growing up, that was one thing that you did not do. You did not uh, intermingle as far as like a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend. You had better not did that, or you would have got a beat down. Or at least that's what I saw in my time frame. People did it; they kept it way on the hush hush. But no, you definitely have black people that are racist. Definitely,
Hmm.
yeah,
Still to this day, I do know some people to this day, if they find out their children are having interracial, as they would consider interracial, even though we're all one race, which is human,
that's right.
if they see their child with a different color, they don't approve of it and don't want you to marry that person because in their minds you're unequally yoked because you're a different color. It's like, are you kidding me? But that's the belief.
Right.
That's the belief, and that's what they're sticking to. And it's like when people think that way, I mean, they have to change. And if they don't, I mean, just think about that. That's one thing that, I mean, they're wrong in that. They're
Oh,
wrong in that.
absolutely.
They are. Let me. So we know as of today, blacks are not tolerating racism, and blacks will fight to keep from being back in bondage. Back in physical bondage, I agree. We will fight to not be back in physical bondage because the worst place of bondage is in our minds.
But do you agree with that?
I I feel like um we are trying in a different form to speak up and do things like that, but honestly, I just feel like it's never enough. Like no matter what we do or have done in the past, um but I still feel like it's a how do you call it? It's it's a double. I don't know if I can say a double standard for this. I'm trying to figure out the right words to say, but black people will be quick to talk about what the white person is doing, but they will not sit back and look and think about what the black people are doing to the black people. So I feel like sometimes they're quick to fight about anything they don't agree with,
Hmm.
except for the things that could bring us together as a unit and make us better as black people. I mean, just thinking about the Ville. So I feel like I don't even know how to explain what I'm thinking, to be honest, this time. But I don't know if I can agree with that or disagree because
Well, I kind of disagree with it because when you say that blacks are not tolerating racism, what about when you continue to foster that image of blacks? Meaning, by your actions, you're out there, you're you're thuggish, black on black crime, and the drugs and all this stuff that is fixed to the black race or culture, and then it's glorified in movies or images or just daily life living to some. Well, isn't that not conforming? Isn't that not tolerating it? You are tolerating it because you're staying in that same mold. You're doing nothing to bring yourself out of it.
that's true. And there is a choice.
Yeah.
There is a choice. If every individual makes up in their minds that they're not going to subject themselves to the stereotypes and to the racism or to the groups that they have put us in over the years and choose to go get that education and choose to stop dealing and selling. And even though people can argue the government put these things in our communities, they will put a ABC store on every corner if they could in the black neighborhoods. They will, have Caucasian people come out and sell this and sell that and get opioids in our communities, all these things, there's still a choice.
Hmm.
I
I
do
agree.
believe you were there years ago in the Durham session when my Uncle Stanley and the deputy was there, Deputy Hoskins. And they would talk. My uncle mentioned that there is a choice that you have, to choose a better life for yourself. Some people feel like that's all they know, that's all they ever will know. But There's so much more opportunity out there today that I don't even think they really do have an excuse as to why they're still doing the same thing. You
Right.
don't really have an excuse to sit on the same corner every single day and do nothing about it. You don't have an excuse to sell the same type of drugs that you've been selling. Like, you don't have an excuse. If you're going to sell drugs, do the legal ones and go be a pharmacist and use that knowledge and help somebody get their prescription for blood pressure medication. How about that? If you're going to do anything in life, make sure it's good and you have the opportunity to choose that. Okay, well, I'm not the smartest person. Well, how do you become smart? You think people, everybody that, good gets good grades in school don't just wake up and have this ability just to accumulate knowledge. First of all, they got to listen to get it in them.
Hmm.
Second of all, some people have to study. I'm one of those people that you got to tell me, I got to write it down, I got to read it, and I got to, verbalize it myself. I got to do something with it to get it inside of me. And that's how I become who I am. If you never choose to read a book, but you can learn all the lyrics to a rap song
Right.
in no time, that lets me know you know how to listen.
Yeah, the
You're
potential is
just,
there.
exactly, you're just picking and choosing what's easiest for you to pick up.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a choice out there today. It's not necessarily, you know, and don't get me wrong, everybody's community doesn't have it made available to get educated, but you got Google, you
Hmm.
got YouTube,
Hmm.
you got a cell phone that you use to cuss out people every single day, but you can't go on there and Google how to find a school that you can, go to, or how to get a tutor to learn how to read, or to learn how to do this or how to do that. You can do that. You can do on your phone what you want to do, but your choices shows what you rather do.
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
So, I mean, we living in a world where, you can take the excuses and toss them out the window. Like, it's no need. I mean, look at all of this success we have around us. So many people graduated from high school, college, even if they didn't graduate from high school and they went back and got their diploma, from a different type of school where they could go and still go to school, end up going to college. They went to a trade school, anything. It's so many opportunities. You hold yourself back when you don't think you're good enough and when you don't think you're smart enough. And sometimes it's not even the fact that the white people are, or the Caucasian, should I say, let me be a little more politically correct, but it could be the fact that your parents or someone in your community has told you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, and it's sometimes it's crabs in a barrel.
Right.
It's not always the opposite color. Sometimes it's within your own communities because someone never made them feel like they were good enough. So they got to tell everybody else after that, you're not good enough either. I wasn't good enough. You ain't going to never be nothing. I ain't going to never be nothing. And you believe that. So you
Right.
never rise above that. It's not always the other color.
So it's playing on again, going back to fear. I mean, it's just fear is a obviously a big part of
It is.
the way we approach one another, the way that we approach life in and of itself. Um, but the really the true answer, and you know what the true answer is, God. It's going to take God
Right.
to pull people up and out of their situation. And
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna definitely have to talk about this again. I think there's some more comments that we're gonna have to, well, not too many much after that. Let me see. Racism was never really talked about, but I will say before I continue that God is the only answer. And whether or not people believe him is not the point. He's still the answer. He's still, that's the only thing, and that we could really truly say that sums up everything and every problem and gives every solution, because that is the only solution.
hmm
And I think people just pick and choose because they just don't want to, invest in that area. But it's so true. Let me see. We have one. Racism was never really talked about with me. My mom just didn't talk about this growing up. That's why I didn't know I felt like this. And that was to the comment earlier about feeling like she was, seeing herself being as someone that didn't like to see the colors come together in Colorado. I believe fear is also taught by social media news, and even years ago when there was no social media, people heard of blacks being lynched because of a crime made. People think we were dangerous, and regardless, that taught of people of color
Yep.
to fear people of color is what she said. I'm sorry. And Susanne says this is all certainly a mindset. I see some agreements. Oh, sorry, I didn't let you see that one. This is all certainly a mindset. That's right. Is there racism within the black race?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, no doubt about that. Okay, this is when my I went out. I'm so sorry you can't even see me right now. Let me see. No, I can't see you. Okay. Let me see. Let me see. All right, let's see where we at. Okay. She said, "Aha!" So that gives credence and it to the point racism and discrimination is taught. Exactly. Ashley says, "Hey, Dad. Hello to you too, Ashley."
Right. Oh, Nash.
She loves her papa. Let me see. Sister Tierra says, I felt that way. I was a seller. I thank God for giving me a mind to change that lifestyle. So you're right. It's a choice, and you really have to want to change.
That's right.
That's
And,
it.
and in fact, that's with that's with anything.
Anything.
One, you have once you recognize what you're doing, how you live, or whatever is not correct. You have to have a desire to change
Yeah,
it. And the only time you're going to change it, a man is not going to have a desire, or a man is not going to be able to change until he sees the need to change. And that's just the brass tacks of it.
that's it. And some people, it ain't even that they will never see it. It's that they see it and don't want to see it.
Yep.
So that's the first topic. Look, we may have to do a few parts of this.
But that's amazing. Well, we got a little bit of that, the second one, but so it's two left.
Yeah, it
Two left.
is. I really appreciate you doing this. I wish that I could be seen right now. I don't know what's going on with this, but
Now, trying to bring you in right there. I'm gonna
what's I know. Look,
talk the next time.
so I'm just like goodness gracious, but um I really do appreciate this topic, and thank you to all y'all that are still hanging in there with us. We have 7 viewers right now. We had more than that earlier, but I'm pretty sure everybody has to be about their day. It's been a lovely show on the Flower Bev Show, and this is in no way to try to push our feelings on anyone or to make anyone, feel offended in any type of way. It's really just to shed light upon a topic that so many are talking about, but sometimes just talking about it within our own communities and within those of us that are around us, we can see different perspectives as well. Because the world can show us one thing, but we still are in charge of how we feel and how we look at things as well. So, never ever take, your loved ones or anyone for granted, no matter the color, no matter the age, no matter the, social status, anyone that you choose to love, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to hate anybody. And we just, we're living in a world where hate is definitely very popular, as always. So continue to love. And I love you guys. Thank y'all so much for being a part of this. Brother Bill, I appreciate you. We definitely got willing to have to do a part two. We can set up that date soon, if you don't mind, so that we can finish the topics of discussion. Because I did want to talk more about um, the second topic I think you were talking about when we were talking about the veil. I mentioned it, but
Right.
so God willing, we will definitely get to that. Thank you guys for watching. Let me see. And I normally sing my song, so I have to sing my song to close out before we end. I have a song that I do every time. Do you have any words to say before I finish before we close out?
I think that this was certainly a good segment, and I hope that it opened, broadened, stretched the minds of those that were listening in, and hopefully on the next time when we have our next section, there'll be even more questions, and um, the minds will be stretched even the more, even our.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. And I'll try to find a better library with better service. Um, Sister Annette says education, so we'll definitely have to talk about that too. But I do have to end with my song. It's a song that we used to sing all the time, closing out in falsehood years ago, and it's one of my favorites. So if you can bear with me for a little while, I'll sing a little piece of it, and then we'll close out.
All right.
Oh, may God be with you. Oh, may God be with you. Oh, may God be with you till we meet again. Oh, may God be with you. Oh, may God be with you. Oh, may God be with you till we meet again. Thank y'all. All right, Brother Bill. Well, thank you. I'm going to. Oh, you're welcome, Sister Annette. Thanks, Sister Dialect. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. All the way from the Netherlands. I appreciate you. All right, y'all take care. Bye.
Take care.